During the vibrant era of the space race, when all eyes were fixed on the fiery red sky, the United States spacecraft marked its victory by landing on the surface of Mars. This success not only ushered in a new era of interplanetary exploration, but also ignited ambition within Soviet scientists. And so, they set their sights on a tiny satellite named Phobos. On the outside, it seemed to be just a silent rock drifting through space. Yet inside, it concealed chilling secrets that haunt the imagination. So, what is the truth behind the cursed moon of Mars? To this day, researchers still fiercely debate the possibility of extraterrestrial life. When the first probes landed here, the reality of life was utterly bleak. Scientists declared it a scene of desolation, with a dusty, reddish, and sickly green-tinged atmosphere. Yet, after a series of extensive studies, perspectives have completely shifted. In reality, the atmosphere of Mars leans toward a grayish blue, rather than the bright red or green hues often seen in illustrations. In the past, the surface of this planet was once covered by vast oceans. Unfortunately, ever since its magnetic field collapsed, the atmosphere was left vulnerable to the sun's tremendous power. With that protective layer gone, fierce solar winds arrived, water evaporated, and what remained was a harsh, frigid landscape. That's why traces still exist in the form of perpetual ice at both polar caps covered in white snow. Scientists have discovered many organic molecules in Martian rocks, the foundational building blocks of primitive life. If the red planet once held, or still holds, the seeds of life, could its tiny satellites be harboring similar secrets? Mars has two moons, Phobos and Deimos, first discovered in 1877 by American astronomer Asaph Hall. Phobos is the largest moon and is closer to Mars. The strange thing is, it orbits Mars at an extremely close distance, only about 8,000 kilometers away. For comparison, Earth's moon is almost 322,000 kilometers from us, a massive difference. The surface of Phobos is riddled with giant impact craters covered by a layer of old, gray dust. Its shape is also highly unusual, distorted and rugged, reminiscent of a drifting potato floating through space. From afar, Phobos really looks more like a lost asteroid than a true satellite. For a long time, the astronomy community believed it was simply a celestial body trapped by Mars's gravity. Not only its appearance, but the mineral composition of both Phobos and Deimos nearly exactly mirrors the characteristics of ancient asteroids. However, when considering the extremely close orbit, the Japanese Space Agency proposed a completely different line of research, instead of simply assuming the moons were pulled in from afar. These two satellites may be the result of a colossal cosmic collision from ancient times. This scenario closely resembles the theory that Earth's moon was formed after our planet was struck by a planet-sized celestial body in its primordial era. If the impact was powerful enough, ejected material from the damaged planet could have clumped together to create new moons. Modern research data also reveals traces of extremely rare organic compounds on Phobos and Deimos. These molecular structures are the biological foundation, essential elements for forming DNA. According to the assessment of the Japanese Space Agency, this moon is like a natural laboratory drifting near Earth, truly an ideal place to study the origins of extraterrestrial life. Many theories suggest that, much like our moon, Phobos appears to be hollow inside. In the 1960s, Soviet researchers discovered something odd about the movement of this satellite. While Mars takes nearly 25 hours to complete one rotation, Phobos whizzes around the red planet in only about 7 hours. That extraordinary motion indicates it has significantly less mass than initially calculated, resulting in a very weak surface gravity. If you weigh about 68 kilograms on Earth, you would weigh only around 60 grams on Phobos, lighter than a chicken egg. This phenomenon of super low gravity not only creates a floating sensation for any creature that sets foot there, but also makes it incredibly difficult to stay attached to the surface. Also, around the 1950s to 1960s, Soviet astronomer and astrophysicist Josef Shklovsky made a shocking statement. The unusual orbit of Phobos only makes sense if it is hollow. Not only questioning the structure, he also suggested that Phobos's outer shell might contain metallic elements. That would mean this moon could be an artificial creation. Dr. Freisinger, who once served as a scientific advisor to President Eisenhower, did not rule out the possibility that this satellite is a natural formation. He argued that if Phobos is gradually falling toward Mars as measurements indicate, then its low mass and high porosity are completely reasonable. Even NASA has admitted that this moon has many unusual structural features. Instead of being a solid rock, it is more like an assemblage of cosmic debris held together by weak gravity. A Phobos researcher described its surface as if it were bound by a thin, loosely cohesive shell, much like a metal sheet wrapped around a hollow object. And of course, the Russians did not want to be left out of the race. In July 1988, the Soviet Union successfully launched 2 probes, Phobos 1 and Phobos 2. These were advanced devices equipped with the most sophisticated tools of that era. Their mission was to survey the Martian environment and collect detailed data about the surface of Phobos. Not only the Soviets, but also 14 other countries, including the United States, supported this project. However, right from the very beginning, this mission faced numerous difficulties. Phobos 1 hadn't even managed to make any measurements or observations before a serious malfunction occurred. Meanwhile, Phobos 2 was luckier and operated steadily for several months after. It completed multiple orbits around Mars, transmitting a wealth of valuable scientific data. Yet, on March 28, 1989, as the spacecraft was preparing to approach Phobos at its closest point, a strange and unexpected event happened. The probe's signal began to fade, and it started displaying abnormal behaviors. In a zero-gravity environment, such a sudden loss of control indicates that some external factor had intervened. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Ground control hurriedly tried to re-establish contact with the spacecraft, but all efforts failed. Phobos 2 only managed to transmit one final image before falling silent. After many days of futile attempts, the mission was officially declared over. The announced cause was a computer software error. Yet, what Phobos 2 sent back beforehand hinted at a completely different story. The last image sparked speculation that Phobos 2 was attacked by an unidentified flying object. After the incident, Russian authorities kept most of the photos taken by the lost probe secret. However, since this was an international cooperative project, other countries objected to the withholding of information. Under increasing pressure, Russia was forced to release most of the photographic records. But the absence of the final images only deepened the mystery surrounding the Phobos 2 mission, and it wasn't until 1991 that an unexpected twist emerged. At that time, Soviet test pilot Marina Popovich released one of the previously hidden top-secret images. It immediately caused a sensation by revealing an incredible scene, an elongated elliptical object closing in on the surface of Phobos. Experts estimated its length at around 24 kilometers. This information was then widely circulated through a special episode of the American TV show Sightings, which focused on mysterious phenomena. The broadcast confirmed that the camera had captured both Phobos and the mysterious object at a very close range. Notably, the crude, elongated shadow of the object was cast directly onto the surface of the red planet. What's especially remarkable is that these photos were taken with an infrared camera. This technology records thermal data and does not rely on optical reflection. The question arises, what was it, and why did it attack the Phobos 2 spacecraft? Not stopping at the UFO image, Phobos 2 also managed to transmit another photo that baffled scientists. It was a close-up of an area on the surface of Mars, where square, aligned structures appeared, looking just like the ruins of an ancient city. These unusually arranged stones give the impression that there may have been artificial intervention, rather than being the result of natural geological processes. If an ancient civilization really did exist on Mars, then Phobos might be the silent witness preserving it all. For decades, Mars exploration missions have continuously sent back images that make us question everything. The most famous is the so-called Face on Mars, captured by Viking 1 in 1976. It was photographed in the Cydonia region and shows a rock formation resembling a human face, complete with eyes, nose, and mouth. Although NASA explained that it was simply the effect of light and terrain, many people still believe this is a remnant of a vanished ancient civilization, or a message left behind by extraterrestrial visitors. According to the legend of the Anunnaki, they not only visited Mars on their journey to Earth, but also established an outpost there. Besides the Cydonia region, many other places on the red planet feature structures that look like artificial constructions. These include pyramids, obelisk stone columns, and even ruins of ancient cities. Most remarkable is the massive structure in the Utopia Planitia region, with a majestic rock rising toward the sky, bearing a nearly perfect pyramid shape. Its precise exterior and overly perfect arrangement make people question a natural origin. In fact, more and more opinions now lean toward the possibility that this is a creation of non-human intelligence. Moreover, the surface of Mars contains countless other puzzling images, from massive pipe systems to corridors said to be made of glass, stretching and interweaving like an underground network. Because Phobos orbits so close to Mars, if there ever was a civilization on that planet, its traces would likely also be present on this moon. In reality, we have already discovered many strange anomalies here. Phobos features deep grooves that are distributed with remarkable regularity. They are not only parallel to each other, but also have almost uniform widths, ranging from 200 to 300 meters. The depth of each groove is also within a narrow range, usually only 23 to 27 meters. Even more remarkable is the stark difference in hue between the groove surface and the rest of Phobos, as if the material layer here was formed from a completely different substance. Over time, new cracks have unexpectedly appeared during various space surveys. Like, comment, and share this video if you're as passionate about space as we are. But the mystery doesn't stop with this tiny moon. The Phobos 2 probe also captured images that looked like the ruins of an ancient city on Mars. In that strange photo, one can see rectangular shapes intertwined with straight lines crossing each other, resembling a network of streets and sturdy structures. The surface of Phobos itself contains a series of unusual signs. At its largest crater, Stickney, which is 6 miles wide and occupies nearly half the moon's surface, the rim is nearly perfectly round to an incredible degree. Many people believe it's not simply a meteor crater, but actually an entrance to a massive cave system beneath the shell. Near that area lies a bizarre rock known as the Phobos Monolith, which is gigantic, about 85 meters wide and 91 meters tall. Its shape is angular and its surface is unusually bright, completely at odds with natural laws. The theory is that the monolith is a relic of an ancient alien civilization, erected as a guiding beacon. However, there are also alternative opinions suggesting that this is evidence of interworld technology, a system connecting different worlds through secret structures. This might remind us of the ancient Egyptian civilization, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza. Researchers suggest that this monumental construction was neither a tomb nor a memorial, but actually an ancient power plant. Nikola Tesla even tried to recreate such technology through his Wardenclyffe transmission tower. It is important to know that in the electric universe theory, it is believed that electricity, not gravity, is the dominant energy of the cosmos. Everything belongs to an enormous electrical network connecting planets, millions of stars, and even distant galaxies. If true, then pyramids around the world, from Egypt, Mexico, Indonesia to Peru, may have once harnessed this energy. The energy they used was called zero-point energy. It exists in every quantum vacuum, is infinite, and never runs out. The pyramids might have absorbed it and transmitted it across the planet through obelisk pillars, functioning like power substations. In the past, Mars had water and an atmosphere like Earth. And that massive monolith on Phobos was another energy receiver, once helping to sustain the ancient interplanetary power system. When Mars lost its atmosphere, it may have caused the collapse of the electric grid between Mars and Earth, leading to the downfall of what was once a highly advanced civilization. However, nowadays, scientists hardly research this type of energy because they consider it too far-fetched from reality. So, what really happened to Phobos 2? What caused the spacecraft to suddenly lose control right before completing its mission? Why did the Soviet Union keep those final photos secret for so long, without releasing all the data? First, let's start with officially confirmed information. All the details surrounding the sudden failure of Phobos 2 come from reputable scientific sources. In 1989, a group of Soviet experts published a 37-page report in the journal Nature, in which only 3 short paragraphs described the incident of losing contact with the spacecraft. The research team admitted that the probe not only went into a spinning state, but might also have collided with an unidentified object. Public opinion quickly questioned whether this could have been the action of extraterrestrial technology. However, one important detail was omitted or deliberately downplayed by the media at the time. The abnormal condition of Phobos 2 had actually started before the spacecraft approached Martian orbit. While Phobos 1 lost signal completely, its twin kept experiencing technical problems, especially uncontrollable spinning. Even in this unstable state, Phobos 2 continued sending data back to Earth, but what was received were confused, inconsistent signals. The integrated cameras on the spacecraft frequently malfunctioned, causing images to be heavily distorted. One of the most controversial photos is the image of Tigar, which is about 35 meters long. However, technical analysis shows that this was simply the result of infrared interference, a common flaw in optical equipment of that era. Yet, what puzzled many people the most was Marina Popovich's statement when she released the photo, calling it the last image Phobos 2 sent back. The truth, however, is not quite so. Within 48 hours of that announcement, ground control received 57 more photos. All of them showed strange phenomena. A white streak ran across the frame, no matter which way the camera turned. Even when the lens was pointed behind Mars, it didn't disappear. This phenomenon was recorded with an infrared camera, indicating that something had systematically entered the field of view. However, when switching to analyze the images taken with regular cameras, no signs of a lozenge-shaped or cigar-shaped object were detected. This strengthens the hypothesis that the phenomenon only existed in the infrared spectrum and may be related to high-altitude wave interference. What about the elliptical shadow of Phobos? Today, modern probes have recorded many photos showing Phobos's shadow cast on the surface of the red planet. These frames look normal. The dark region is softly outlined just as light reflects in a thin atmosphere. However, the UFO-believing community once circulated an old photo in which Phobos's shadow appeared with a sharply defined and unusually shaped edge. In reality, the explanation for this difference is very simple. That widely spread image had undergone several technical edits, such as increasing contrast and sharpening edges for clearer presentation. When examining the untouched original, the shadow boundary is perfectly soft, matching the data from recent close-up observations. So, is Phobos hollow inside? Most likely not. This moon was formed by the aggregation of small meteorite fragments, making its core full of voids and stratified cavities. On the surface, many unusual cracks have appeared, unlike its sibling Deimos, which shares the same orbit. Just last year, a publication in Planetary Science hypothesized that Mars's gravity itself is what caused the stretching fractures and gradual deformation of Phobos over time. These grooves are actually places where the moon's outer shell has collapsed into the empty hollows beneath, forming a series of strange valleys and streaks. This phenomenon also indicates that in the future, this tiny moon may be crushed by the planet's immense gravitational pull, estimated to occur in about 40 million years. As for the controversial metallic shell, researchers have provided a simple explanation. When Phobos is continuously stretched, ultrafine dust particles are ejected into the air and, over time, settle back down and cover the entire surface. This layer of material forms a thin gray film, looking like metal, but in reality, it's just ancient dust accumulated over thousands of years. Regarding the solitary rock lying alone on the plateau, its existence is real, but that kind of geological formation is not rare in the solar system. Some mysterious theories suggest it is a navigation device deliberately implanted by an alien civilization to connect the universe. But there are also practical arguments suggesting it's simply the product of natural impacts, with no intelligent force behind it at all. As for the images circulated with the title, "Ancient City on Mars," most likely they are just the product of a psychological phenomenon called Paridolia. This is when the human eye perceives faces, buildings, or familiar objects from random shapes in rocks, sand, or shadows. Until humanity truly sets foot on that land, everything remains at the level of unverified hypothesis. Even though many theories have been debunked, Phobos continues to remind us of our desire to explore life and the universe. Although every attempt to reach it has ended in failure, the spirit of conquest has never faded. Because when facing the greatest mysteries of the cosmos, the one thing we must never lose is our faith. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting and helpful, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts below. Goodbye, and see you again on the next adventure.